imagining a world where women are really valued for what we bring to the table, is really something that I hope that I do see before the end of my career and my lifetime, because I think that's a key to it. It's like there's confidence, but in no way am I trying to say we need to be more masculine or more man-like, or what really needs is that we all need to really value what we bring to the table as women and have that be valued. But I think it starts with us. And more and more it is beginning to be more valued, but there are still lots of pockets where you see all executive boards that are men, and big industries where it's still incredibly male dominated.
Welcome to the Women Choosing Growth podcast, where we bring you practical advice and guidance on how to grow your business and achieve success in your entrepreneurial journey. We feature inspiring stories of success, challenges of growth, and lessons learned from women entrepreneurs, industry experts, and thought leaders who have been through the growing pains inevitable as an entrepreneur. Whether you are just getting started or are looking to scale up your business, our show is designed to provide you with the tools, resources, and community you need to grow your business. Join your host, Tina, a lifelong entrepreneur and business growth advisor, as we explore topics such as marketing, sales, finance, leadership, and personal growth, all tailored specifically to the needs of women entrepreneurs. So if you're ready to grow your business faster and smarter, and learn from the experiences of those who have traveled the growth path before you, then this podcast is for you. Thanks for tuning in, and let's get started.
Welcome to another episode. Today's guest is Sarah Dale. Sarah has had a 30-year career in advertising, and she's been fortunate to work with great brands like the Wall Street Journal, where she led big teams and drove hundreds of millions in revenue. While she had an impressive career, Sarah's love for nature and experiences in the wild of Montana are what started her wish to get other corporate women to build their own badassery and confidence by learning outdoor skills. That's when she founded Project 1490, an experience-based women's leadership community designed to accelerate the rise of female leaders with grace and grit. The name 1490 was the first year of the Renaissance, a period known for rebirth of culture, creativity, and individual potential. A perfect name for her mission. In today's episode, Sarah shares how she helps women build confidence by getting uncomfortable, trying new things, and actually pretty fun things. She also provides examples of how you can continue to work on your own confidence. Imagine a world where every woman could elevate their personal confidence even a little bit, if ever so slightly, what that would do to the inequality between women and men in corporate life, what it could do to build stronger relationships in our careers and in our personal lives. Stay tuned for this powerful episode. Welcome to another episode, ladies. I am your host, Tina Sue, and with me today is Sarah Dale, founder of Project 1490. Ladies, you're going to want to make sure that you're listening closely because Sarah is going to help you unleash your badassery. It's literally her tagline for Project 1490. Excited to have you here, Sarah. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
I am super excited, but before we really dive into your world, we want to know, you had a successful 30-year career in advertising. You were a Jersey girl. What really inspired you to take such a big shift in life and create Project 1490?
Oh, it's a great question. And honestly, it was a long time coming. And although it seems sort of hidden, it was like an idea that I had, I don't know, maybe 25 years ago, a long time ago. And the idea originally came from when I was living in Montana, and I was learning all of these things that I was never exposed to coming from Jersey and New York City. And I kept thinking, man, it's so empowering, and it was building my whole sort of confidence and self-reliance, and I was wishing that for other women, and I thought, man, if we could just condense this into so not everybody would have to move to Montana.
Right.
And I just didn't really know exactly what that looked like for a long time. And then with having the career that I've had, it all kind of made sense to make it into something that is for corporate women, where we can talk about leadership and careers and all of that and combine it with what we call badassery and learning some of those, mostly outdoor skills, but not entirely. We play poker, we do a lot of other things, and make it into a place where women can have real support for their careers.
That all sounds exciting. We're going to dive into a little bit of that, but it also seems like a huge shift. I mean, you could have just stayed on your career path with advertising, corporate world. So tell us a little bit more. Share that journey of, so you're living in Jersey, somehow you get to the other side of the US. What happened
Yeah.
there? Like, how do we go from city girl to the country life that you ended up living? And now you're back on the East Coast.
Yeah, it was. I'm definitely going to date myself with this story, but it was around the time that River Runs Through It and Legends of the Fall came out.
Oh, what a great movie.
Oh, they were both so good, and I was so naive. I said, "How did they get those backdrops to look so real?" And people were like, Montana looks like that," and I was like, "Oh my god, I have to go to this place." So I did, and it was only supposed to be for 6 days. And,
Days.
a couple of things. I went by myself, and I took Ralph Waldo Emerson's Self-Reliance with me. And that is a dangerous combination. Like,
I can see
don't
that.
read Emerson on vacation unless you want to do something really, take a hard left turn in your life. So, and then I moved there, and I thought I would just, stay for a couple of years and then sort of resume my journey up the corporate ladder. But I ended up staying for 7, and I got married out there, and really, only came back because really was out of like survival. I was just like divorced, and came back in that kind of like, I just got to do what I have to do. And so, I had a wonderful career after that, but it definitely was a hard left turn.
And it sounds like you missed a big part of that life, and that's where you have made this beautiful little match of bringing Montana to the big cities.
Yeah, it's so true. It's like, I know other people have this experience in their lives that their home doesn't feel like the place where they actually grew up or they live even. And, Montana was a very different place when I lived there. 'Cause it was many years ago now, but it definitely feels like where my home is. Um, and yeah, and I want to share all the stuff that I got from that experience. And so this has been a really wonderful way for me to do that.
I love it too. So Project 1490 is about badassery, right? In corporate women. How do you define that? And what are some of the steps that women can take to unleash their own badassness?
Oh,
Badassery,
yeah.
badassness, either word.
Those words, you can make up a lot of words around.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a great question. So what does it mean to me? Really is, I think, anything that gets you to do the things that you never thought you could, or really outside of your comfort zone, and to try new things is pretty badass.
Mm-hmm.
And so honestly, I mean, I say this often, but I've had a wonderful experience before of sitting in a room with other women and learning how to knit. And it was pretty badass. It was like, I first of all knew how to do it by the end of the day. And second of all, like to have that kind of experience with other women that we used to have all the time and we don't have now. So most of our stuff really focuses on shooting bows and chopping wood with an axe and some car stuff and that kind of thing. But really anything that gets you outside of your comfort zone, to me is within that definition of badassery.
Mm-hmm. And it's just joyful, and it adds to the experience when you can do that with other women who are experiencing it for the first time or also out of their comfort zone. Is that correct?
It's, the amazing and magical thing about doing things outside of your comfort zone with other people is we all have a ton of layers of pretense and everything else on top of us. And we tend to walk into particularly networking events and we're like, we have to have it all together, and we have to know, and really you can't learn very much from a position of I know. And so if you get, a group of people, doesn't even have to be just women, but you get a group of people doing something that they really legitimately don't know how to do and learning together, boy, like all those layers just drop off us. And
Mm.
what I have found is that then other women become incredibly supportive of each other, which we all have in us, and we also have the opposite in us too. So, but it creates an environment where people become a little bit more childlike, and just remember how easy it was to make friends when we were all
Mm.
kids. It becomes more like that than any kind of sort of networking thing that I've been to anyway.
I just had that vision of, being little girls on the playground, and you just saw someone and you're like, "Hey, do you
That's
want to be my friend?" Can you imagine us doing that at our age now, going to a networking group?
right.
"Hi, do you want to be my friend?"
That's right. But
It's
it's
not that
amazing.
easy.
It's like, who knew what you needed to do was like grab an axe and chop some wood together,
Yeah, exactly.
But that's how we do it now.
That's how we do it now. You want to go chop some wood and yeah,
That's
wrangle
right.
a cow or whatever it is. I think you do that as well, right?
Yeah, that's so great.
Yes. I love that. That is so true. You talk a lot about the confidence gap, and it sounds like you were kind of sharing a little bit about that right there. What are some other than getting out of your comfort zone, kind of doing that with women, like where does this confidence gap come into play?
Yeah. So a friend of mine said to me, what you're really doing with Project 1490 is bottling confidence. And
Mm.
I really was like, oh, is that what I'm doing? I like, like I hadn't put it that way to
Yeah.
myself, you know. But so I started researching confidence and what is it? How do you get it? Why do some people have more of it than others? And very quickly, without trying to Google, what is the difference between men and women's confidence levels, or is confidence holding women back, or anything like that? That's exactly what I found. There's a ton of research out there that shows that women, now this is obviously generally speaking, so it's not on an individual basis, but generally speaking, we have less confidence than men our entire lives, except for a little 4-year window in our early 50s, and where men's dip and ours goes up. That's right. And just happen to be in that
Power to the early 50s.
that's right. And but other than that, there is less confidence for many reasons. But how it affects us in our careers is very obvious, right? When you have less confidence, you put yourself forward less. You ask for what you want less. You
Mhm.
speak up less. Like there's all of these, differences. And it's kind of like analogous to getting up to bat, right? And if we're getting up to bat because of our own lack of confidence and we're getting up to bat less, we're going to get less opportunities. We're going to get paid less. We're going to, all of those things. Now, I'm not saying it's the only thing that stands like in our way. There's been a lot of progress and there's still things that the world can change and needs to change. But if we just sit around waiting for the world to change, I think it's predicted that we're going to get equal pay in 150 years. Like,
Oh,
that's
jeez.
not okay with me.
No,
I'm not going to be here. You're not going to be here.
no.
And my daughter's probably
I
more,
I was
right,
just gonna say our children aren't going to be here
right.
either.
Too long. It's like, so when I was doing the research, the thing that struck me was like, this is something that's in our control. This is like one piece of the puzzle that is entirely in our control to build, because yes, there are people who are born with more confidence, but it is something that can be built. And the way that you build it is by having experiences that get you outside of your comfort zone, having success with them. That builds a molecule of confidence, and round it goes, because that confidence then propels you to do the next thing, try the next thing. And so it's sort of this spiraling up. And the other elements that are important are hanging out with a bunch of other supportive, confident women.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing I found interesting was, another thing that builds confidence is helping other people, because it's kind of like a bit of, it's a flex. If you're the person who's in the know or has advice for someone and you're their sounding board, it creates confidence in yourself that you know something. So all of those elements have been are the ingredients inside Project 1490. I just didn't know, like, I could have read the research and then created it, I suppose, but I didn't do it that way around. I created it based on my own experience, and then it turns out that these are the elements that actually build confidence. And so if we could do that, we could accelerate all of our individual career paths. And that just seems like a really worthwhile thing to do.
So doing some of those things that many people haven't done, right? Like fixing a car or changing a car tire, or chopping wood, like you mentioned, that's where like all the guards are down and you're just learning this thing as a group. And that is how confidence is built. One of the
Yeah.
elements.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and some of those elements, it might be different for different people. We're doing a horseback riding event in a couple of weeks that, we're going to catch the horse, saddle the horse, and then go ride. And you can't do that in a lot of places. They're just like, I'll have your stuff all ready for you. And then you just,
yeah.
But if that for somebody is overcoming a fear, or it's something that they've never done before, and at the end of the day, they're like, I can do that now. That's where it's built. And, that could be archery for somebody. It could be horseback riding for another. Or it could be like, I'm not going to get ripped off by a mechanic now on my tires. Like, it could be
exactly.
a lot of different stuff,
Yeah.
We kind of make sure that there's something for everyone.
Yeah. And in that scenario, it's not necessarily that you're going to change your own tire, but at least you've learned something about the industry. You've got some lingo, and that's where it can apply outside of changing a tire into like even your career.
Yeah. And I it's funny because I learned how to tie knots when I was in Montana, and I completely forgot how to do most of them from now. So I was relearning it. And now it's, we're something that we do on the side with on the events, but I can't tell you how many times those knots have come in handy now.
Right.
And I'm the one to be like, oh, I know how to fix it. And, I could do the knot. And that's that's the thing. You just don't know when these things are going to sort of come in handy, either, as an experience that you can call on, or in the practical sense of it. So the more things that we know how to do, the more, empowered I think we feel.
Yes, and for those country girls that are listening, you and I had that conversation when we chatted last time, that actually a lot of the things that you are doing, like growing up in Wisconsin in the country, like we chopped wood, unfortunately, the entire Christmas break from school. So like it was like, for me though, the first time that I had to figure out how to ride a subway was actually even over in Paris, not even here in the United States. So like I can't read the language and trying. I didn't even know, got on the wrong train, what was going in the wrong direction. So like things that you grew up knowing how to do probably at the age of 5, I was in my 40s and had to figure out. So it's not necessarily doing some of the events that you're talking about. It's literally getting uncomfortable and getting through it in your own mind and doing it. And then that's really the confidence, right?
That's why I say, like, in terms of the definition of what is badassery, it's sort of like whatever everybody's comfort zone is slightly different. And if you grew up in the country, or you grew up in the mountains, or you grew up in the city, your comfort zones are going to be extremely different.
Sure. Yep.
But as soon as you get outside of that, once you tackled the subway of Paris, I'm sure that you felt pretty badass. Like, and
we did not get robbed, although it was attempted.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. Classic tourist. Yes. And now I feel confident that I could figure it out in any city. And I have since then. So yeah, badassery is like whatever your box is that's norm, it's getting outside of that.
Exactly. If you grew up chopping wood, then, maybe it's subways or sewing or whatever it is.
Yeah. When you said knitting, I think that's probably on the list of something, because I don't have the patience to do that. So I have not. But maybe, maybe an afternoon of teaching me how to knit might be my next badassery item on the list.
That's right. I know that when I started knitting actually straight, I felt very accomplished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I am in my early 50s, right? So that's where my confidence is, like, apparently at my peak.
Exactly. And as am I. Yeah, totally.
Yes. I can take on knitting. Bring it on. Bring it on, ladies. You had talked about networking, and it's often, I really, honestly, it's in just about every career, whether in your sales or any piece of that leadership, right? Hey, incredible women entrepreneurs. It's Tina Sue here. I know you're juggling a lot, growing your business, managing family time, and trying to find balance. Deep down, you know you're capable of so much more, but maybe fear or uncertainty is holding you back from achieving that dream business, that dream life that you deserve. That's why I created the Dream Big, Plan Bigger guide, a game changer for your business growth. This isn't just another goal-setting document. It's your personal roadmap to achieving the impossible. Imagine having a clear vision of your biggest dreams, breaking through the barriers that hold you back, and reigniting that passion that fuels your journey. This guide is your roadmap to doing just that without compromising your family time or your personal priorities. You deserve to see your business thrive and still have time for what you love. Let's take this journey together. Download your free Dream Big, Plan Bigger workbook now at tina-sue.com and start making those dreams a reality. Now, let's get back to the show. And that the typical way of networking isn't always the most comfortable. What do you believe is an authentic way for women to network and embrace their badassery, embrace this confidence that they're working on? Do you see that being different than it was a few years ago?
Oh, I'm not sure how different it is, from a few years ago, maybe, but I do see the women who are coming up in their 20s being a lot bolder and a lot straighter. And so I think that there is, like, sort of a shift in the wind as that generation sort of really comes, up the ranks. But I do think in terms of authentic networking is so much more about the place that you're in yourself than it is in the place in the world you are. If you're in one of those, what I call cardboard cracker kind of networking events, but those are tough. And I think that the reason they're tough is because it's a lot easier to network with people when you're doing something else, like you're fishing or you're skiing or you're whatever, like knitting. I don't know. We keep going back to that. But if you have that other thing that you are participating in, then, all of that awkwardness really goes away. And somebody had also said to me, it just takes one person at a networking event to admit that everything isn't perfect and everybody else around them relaxes and then starts to really share, the mess that they're in their companies or their lives or whatever. And then it becomes a much more human experience. But I think that there's the fast way to get there is to do have that thing, whatever that thing might be, that is kind of an activity based kind of thing that
Mhm.
you experience together.
Yes, I can agree to that. For years of being in business, on both ends, right? And I guess if I had to think about it, the best networking ever was not at the event having to get, X number of leads. It
Yeah.
was really like either outside it was more in that very social versus the corporate-y
Right.
networking. At
Totally.
conferences, it's, at the pool, it's at the bar, it's where people are like that guard is down and they're not businessy. They're
Yeah.
themselves, their authentic selves, talking about their kids, their family, their horseback riding, whatever they do for fun is where you really connect. And we all know that people do business with people who are relatable. So unless you get to that authentic level,
Yeah. And
I think it's hard.
when I was coming up in my very early career, I was in a sales organization and they had, we called them boondoggles back then. And it was like they used to go, whether it was golf or that was, when I lived in Montana, I took 25 ad clients out for a 5-day event. We went fly fishing and horseback riding. I mean, they were completely different people of
Mhm.
themselves and to each other by the time that they left. And but that used to be a much more regular thing in at least I come from the media and publishing industry and ad tech, and it used to be normal. People used to do those kinds of events all the time, take people to Bermuda or whatever. And it's
Mhm.
not done as much anymore. And, so we've stripped down like a lot of those things of like, okay, we just need to meet people. So let's put them all in a room and serve them some cocktails. And
Serve them some dinner and some drinks. Yep.
but that isn't how relationships really get built. You may
Agreed.
make some like quote unquote connections, but you're not building relationships doing that. So, how do you do it? And, that's sort of why we're focused on the live events and activities and making it a real mix.
And I imagine everything we just said about networking also applies to corporate culture. So instead of bringing people you're wanting to network with, imagine companies can bring their teams together and do some of this outside of the box. We're not talking about work for an afternoon. We're actually going to go fly fishing or learn how to ride the subway or
Right, right.
whatever that outside activity is. Do you have corporate company like bringing employee groups together?
Yeah, it's something that we get asked about. So we are just starting to leverage this for some of the events, not the membership so much, but the events. We can do days of badassery
Mm.
for client groups, I mean, boy, if you want to make friends with your clients, go chop some wood, chase some chickens. We do that too. And like, you'll never forget, that kind of experience with each other. So, yeah, so I think it's wonderful for team building and kind of client relationship building. And so we're just starting to offer that.
Well, if I can push you in that direction, I think it'd be a great idea. I know our company does 2 in-persons a year, and usually, like, it's been Mexico twice, where we get the entire company together. We're talking 150 people to just we have a couple meetings, but otherwise it's social because we're a remote company and we don't get to see each other than meetings on Zoom.
So great that they're
It's
investing in you
huge.
that way. It's
Yeah.
so great because since obviously the pandemic, so many of us are working remotely, and
Mhm.
all those connections with that you feel the camaraderie of your colleagues, it's just so much of that has dissipated. And so many of us are like, kind of in our offices by ourselves. And there's just a real longing, I think, for connection within companies and just as human beings in general.
Yes, exactly. And the location doesn't necessarily matter. I think we're going to Orlando this coming February, but it's really about seeing someone in person, talking about their personal life, getting reconnected with regular conversation. I mean, we're not going to schedule that Zoom to we're not taking an hour out of our day to go connect with you because we've got other things to do, right? So this is a week long of getting reconnected with our fellow
That's
employees.
so great. It's a huge, it made me think because my previous company was remote. And when we would get together, it was like, oh my God, everybody just became three-dimensional. And it was like, and it's true, like from a very literal sense, but you have to wonder what dimension really is about, right? Because it's like we're on Zoom, we're missing a
Mhm.
whole dimension of the person.
Mhm.
And we do get it once we're live in the flesh,
Yep, hugging that non-hugger.
That's right.
It's great for us, not so great for the non-hugger. We have one on our team I purposely hug. Um, let's get back to the confidence building because I think that's really what's circled around all of this and really building confidence, allowing these women to take life, business life, personal life, all the things to the next level, just increasing that confidence. Is there any specific, we talk about getting out of your comfort zone. Is there any specific techniques or exercises, or how does someone say, yeah, this is all great. Uh, I'm not at a place where I can, go have an event and ride a horse or knit for that matter.
Yeah.
How can they work on their self-confidence intentionally and specifically?
I have a couple of things, but one really fun way to start, because this was given to me by a friend many years ago, and she asked me to come with her to have a new night. And I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
She
What's
said,
that?
you have to wear your hair different than you've ever worn it. You got to do your makeup different than you've ever done it. You got to wear something you've never worn before, and you got to go places you've never been before. And you got to eat and drink things you never had before. And anything during the night that you come across that you've never done before, you have to do it. And if you go with a good friend that's like a real ride or die,
Mm-hmm.
it can be completely life changing. And I'm saying that from my own experience. We did it once when I was in my early 20s, and during the night, I had never put my name up on a New York City bar list to play pool, right? Like that's how you get on the pool table. And it's very intimidating, and you really have to know what you're.
Probably thinking you should be good.
Yeah, exactly. Like, here I come. And I didn't know how to play pool very well at all. And thank God these guys that were on the pool table, these older gentlemen, they taught us how to play pool. And I got so hooked on it. I just kept going back to the place. And we also chewed tobacco that night, which I don't recommend, but we
Yeah.
did learn.
But hey, it was different. It was
And,
something you didn't do, right?
exactly. And when I got back to New York, after having been gone in Montana for a while and got divorced after I was here for a while and sort of was trying to get my bearings again, I joined a pool team to just get out of my living room, and that's where I met my now husband and had two kids with him and all of that. That never would have happened if I hadn't learned how to play pool on that new night. And I never would have done it, because I would have been too intimidated. I
Oh, sure.
would have stopped myself. So it's great. That's a really fun way to do. You can do that no matter where you live, whatever,
Mhm.
because it just reduces everything down to anything that you haven't done before, you have to do it. So, and just
Mhm.
for one night, and that's really, it really can be helpful. And then just in general, kind of people understanding where the definitions are of their comfort zones, it can be very helpful. So, as you're talking to other people and finding out, like, what are they afraid of? What are you afraid of? Like, there are some things that, like, I don't want to do. Like, I'm very scared of chainsaws, and I've like, that's like a thing. There's equivalents to that in our careers, like things that I'm comfortable with, things that I'm not comfortable with. If you start asking questions to the people that you do have relationships with now, and find out where they can help you and you can help them.
Mm-hmm.
And that, that can start expanding your comfort zone. But if you do it, we can blow this off, right? And not do anything and ride our lives out. If it's really for people who are interested in accelerating and
Mm-hmm.
not just sort of like having the current just drive us down the river. So if you, it's some of it is swimming upstream, but it's like if you want to intentionally do it, you have got to intentionally go out and expand your comfort zone. Like, and there's some really great ways to do it. It's and I'm sure listeners could probably tell me 10 more. So it can be really fun, and to me, it's really necessary.
Yes, I agree with that. So kind of let your river run wild.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
But really identifying those things that you're afraid of within reason, that a good friend, colleague, someone could help you navigate through. And I'm thinking in the business world, I know several people who cannot like panic attack if they had to get up in front of a group of people and speak.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's something easy. Like if that's you, yeah,
And so
start.
maybe don't take on a crowd of 200,
Yeah.
but maybe it's 5 people, start
Hmm.
with 5 people. And there's kind of a one method of doing this that like there's kind of 3 circles. The inner circle is stuff that absolutely terrifies you. The outer circle is stuff that you're completely comfortable with, like, can do it with my not afraid, do it all the time, super in my comfort zone. And then there's a middle circle. And the middle circle is where you want to focus because you don't want to go straight for the stuff that you're terrified of, right? Like
Hmm.
I'm working my way through to chainsaws,
Yeah.
but like
I'm not going to whitewater rapid through the Grand Canyon. No.
yeah, okay. But there might be like something, anything that's in that middle circle that you're like, well, I haven't done it. It sounds a little intimidating, but I do it. That kind of flavor about it of like, oh, well, it doesn't terrify me to do it, whatever. Everybody's is different. But if you find that whatever's in that middle circle, that's your expansion zone, right?
Hmm.
And once that middle circle becomes the outer, maybe the inner circle starts to look a little bit more like the middle. Does that make sense? It's hard to do with
It
not
does.
visual.
No, well, it makes sense to me. I'm very visual. But so how much have you been knitting? Is-
Yeah, I've knitted a few scarves now. Um,
okay. So
and
you moved it to your outer circle or closer to the
yeah,
outer circle.
yeah, absolutely knitting. And I'm not great at it, but I can at least do like squares and like rectangles now. And then I just started trying like cross stitching and stuff because
Oh,
it is a really wonderful thing to do with other women. Um, but yeah, the other thing I'm also trying to learn is lassoing. Like
hmm.
somebody tried to teach me how to rope when I was in Montana. I wasn't very good at it, so I thought I would try my hand at that again and learn a new thing.
And and to bring it back full circle, all of this about getting out of our comfort zone is really about building our own confidence, which just elevates us emotionally, mentally, corporate, personal, all the things.
Yeah, I mean it. So when you look at the some of the research of how much confidence versus competency affects our careers, like is the confidence is actually a bigger factor in it than competence, which is annoying because most women tend to focus on competency. And it's true, we do have to be competent, but maybe even more so to some degree. But because women often get promoted for our track record, whereas men get promoted for their potential.
Mhm.
And hopefully that's a scene that's changing a bit. But if you think about all of the things that sort of confidence can drive, of taking risks, measured risks, which is why we play poker. Like, learn how to take measured risks. But, all of those things of where we might speak up or be silent, it's really confidence that makes it of such a big difference there.
So if we could have all the women in the world listen to this podcast and take action and elevate their confidence, what do you think, what kind of impact would that make in the corporate world, business world, when we're
Oh my,
comparing women to men? Like, how does that affect leadership? What do you see?
oh my gosh, that would be amazing. I
Mhm.
that would be amazing. It would be a very different world, I think. Um, and it's great to actually imagine, because and to some degree, you and I have had a similar, length of career, and it certainly has changed a great deal since we both started.
For sure.
But I mean, imagining a world where women are really valued for what we bring to the table, is really something that I hope that I do see before the end of my career and my lifetime, because I think that's a key to it. It's like there's confidence, but in no way am I trying to say we need to be more masculine or more manlike, or
Mm-mm.
we what really needs is that we all need to really value what we bring to the table as women and have that be valued. But I think it starts with us. And it,
Mhm.
more and more, it is beginning to be more valued, but there are still lots of pockets where you see all executive boards that are men, and big industries where it's still incredibly male dominated.
Mhm.
And, or are the expectation is that we will play the game the same way a man does, and we don't.
Absolutely. There's
So
a couple industries where it's great that women don't play the same as men.
that's right. That's
Mhm.
right. And nor should we. But to me, like that vision that you just laid out of everyone sort of, if every single person, every single woman was to really take on, like, I'm going to work on building my confidence over the next, whatever, 3, 5
Mhm.
years or whatever it is, it
Mhm.
would be game changing, because that's what it would look like. It would,
Yep. Even if everyone just elevated it one notch,
that's right.
one notch would be a huge upset in a good way
It'd be
to
incredible,
the world.
because even, some of the research that's reflected about the confidence stuff, it's like men will ask for raises much more than we do, right? I've seen different stats on that. So some say it's 4 times as 4 times as often, and sometimes it's like just 2.5 times. And
But it's more often,
it's
period.
more often, period.
It's more.
And they ask for like 30% more money. Um, when they do go to negotiate. So if your confidence raises, what, I don't know, 10, 20%, you get, I don't know how to measure it exactly,
Right.
but you get, you go a distance in elevating your confidence. How many more at bats do you think you're going to get for, to negotiate your salary or negotiate a new salary when you're coming on board? It's like all of, you know, and what happens when women get more money? A lot of good stuff. There's a
A
lot of
lot of good stuff.
fantastic research on that. Like the way that we spend and who we spend it on. It's like a lot of good stuff happens in the world when women get money. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's world changing right there.
Well, let's make that a mission of this episode.
I love it. I love
One last question for you for these listeners who may be considering this bold life change. Just one, just starting out with one like you did. What advice would you give them to take that first step?
it. The first step to, you know,
Make
like entrepreneurism, or
No,
sorry.
just making a bold step in their comfort zone. Yep.
Yeah. Let's see. I would say shrink it down to the minimal thing that you think that you could do so that you'll do it. And then
Mhm.
tomorrow do a little bit more. And start that way, because I think if that makes sense, because I think that we do often think in these big, bold leap kind of things, and they come with a lot of obstacles to them. They
Mhm.
come with a lot of just, the bigger it is, the sort of the bigger than the no that's in us about it. And so I would say do one small thing, and then tomorrow make it, a little slightly bigger, or do two small things or something like that, because
Mhm.
that then you're on the way, and you've done it before, all the obstacles inside yourself tell you that you can't do it.
I love that. It's the analogy, right? How do you eat an elephant?
That's
One
right.
bite
That's right.
one bite at a time. It's a tiny little bite. Tiny little bite.
That's right.
uh, I absolutely love all the badassery you shared, and I hope that it's really given some women some time to think about how they could elevate their own confidence to just be more confident in life. And for all the reasons that we've mentioned today: work, personal, family, parenting, like every aspect of life, that confidence can really shine through as it continues to expand. So I really, really appreciate you. If people are listening and are completely intrigued on like, oh my gosh, I'm going to go do these things from what you're sharing today, how would they reach out to you?
Oh, yeah, I hope they do. It's project1490.com, and we're on Instagram and LinkedIn, and you can find us there.
And I do encourage everyone to visit your website. There's a very attractive photo of you of Jersey girl back in the day. I was like, you know what? Good for her. She's the perfect person to talk about confidence, because you have, is that like 80s hair going on around that time frame?
We're 80s Jersey. Yeah, I was.
80s Jersey. Yeah. I was like, yep, she's confident.
Yeah, I got runner up at my high school reunion by to saving the ozone layer by changing my hairstyle.
Right. Aquanet.
Oh yeah, it was big in the 80s. Yeah, so I thought, am I really going to put this up there? And I thought, yep.
Yes,
Like,
it
okay.
is literally you doing what you say, what you're teaching other people to do, is get out of your comfort zone and just be real.
Yeah, yeah. The real goes a long way.
Mhm. Thank you again for everything you
Thank
shared
you for
today.
having me. This was great. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. The Women Choosing Growth Show is not just another podcast. It's a tribe of women helping each other grow. So please, share this podcast with all the women entrepreneurs that you would love to see succeed. If you'd like to know more about customized business advising through Cultivate Advisors, download business tools, or sign up for upcoming events, visit www.WomenChoosingGrowth.com. Once again, that's www.WomenChoosingGrowth.com. Remember, we are in this together. See you on the next one.